so we have here one of the many vehicles that we bring in a year. This is a Ford F250 with a 6.2 liter in it. And what makes this truck interesting is we're going to tune it, but the customer has installed a Whipple. A Whipple is a supercharger that's driven off of a belt that pushes air into the motor, makes artificial boost, and gives the engine a lot more power. Okay, now we're going to pop the hood. We're going to take a look and see what's going on under the hood, because we had to make a couple of very custom, unique, and special changes to this just so that we could get to the point where we can tune it. Alrighty, under the hood of this F250, we're going to find a few unique items, one of which has never, I'm going to guarantee, been on any vehicle ever, because we made it custom here at International Dyno Authority. Okay, so if we look over here, everything you see that's kind of black and added on to the top of this motor, which is a work truck. He does plowing with it, he does a lot of work, he's going to tow a boat with it, he's going to tow a trailer with it. But on top, you've got something that's nice and clean, that's the Whipple Supercharger. Attached to that is going to be our custom piece. This came with its own throttle body. It was a dual mouth throttle body with no data. If you have a dual mouth throttle body like this on a General Motors vehicle, you could work with it. On a Ford, we need the specs, we need the base tune. We didn't have that, so we manufactured this intake which adapts to the stock throttle body. Originally, what this customer did, they added a whole bunch of tchotchkes. So they have, you look under the hood, you're gonna see those red MSD coils. They literally do nothing. Unless you've got one that went bad, they literally do nothing. Fancy spark plugs, fancy spark plug wires, fancy mass airflow sensors and throttle bodies. All that stuff really serves to do nothing on your 6.2 liter other than spend your money. When you put a Whipple on top, now we're going to go into boost territory. We can tune it with the stock throttle body. We can tune it with a stock mass airflow sensor. We can make this truck work extremely well, which is the customer has been searching for. He's been searching for some power, but you're just not going to get it with all those kind of add-on things. You're going to spend $2,000 or $3,000 for nothing. Now we can tune this Whipple, tune the fuel, tune the boost, get the transmission to work correctly, and the customer's going to be happy. It's going to have a truck that works extremely well, makes great power everywhere, and of course, it's going to have better fuel mileage when it's all done because it's going to work less. Okay, what is a Whipple Supercharger? So if we look down here, we have a pulley, which is basically a wheel that is spun by a belt. This belt then goes in and drives two what look like barrels with blades on them. Their job is to simply take air from here, and each single revolution of the two blades that are in here is going to move whatever the size of the Whipple is, whether it's a 1.7 liter, a 2 liter, 2.3, or a 3 liter, the new Whipple. The Whipple Supercharger is going to simply move that. Every one revolution, so 360 degrees of those blades inside of this housing is going to move whatever the capacity of the supercharger is. So if it's a 2.9 liter Whipple, it's going to move 2.9 liters of air every single time that this turns 360 degrees. So obviously, you're thinking about it, you say, well, if I change this pulley, I can make this spin quicker. Yes, you can. Whipples do two things very well. They make heat, which is not so good, but they make boost, and they make really good boost very soon in the low RPM range, which is what you want for a truck. So that's what a Whipple does. It takes atmosphere, brings it in, forces it through, and speeds up the air coming from the intake. So instead of the motor drawing its own air in, this Whipple actually pushes the air into the motor, which is extremely efficient. All right, at this point, what we're going to do is do a couple of baseline passes. Wally's already spent a couple of hours making sure that the vehicle will even run. When it first came in, there was no chance it was even going to run. The data was incorrect, the throttle body was incorrect. Now we're ready to make some baseline passes just to find out where we're going to start. From that point forward, we'll start making some other passes, make some new adjustments, and go from there. So the first pass we made here, we're we're doing it the lower RPM range, revving a motor out completely on your first pass, especially with this custom setup, would be very irresponsible. So what we've done is we've started with the lower RPM. We're only getting this thing up and just basically letting off around 3,700. A motor like this will easily rev 6,000, 6,500. It's a dual overhead cam, modular Ford motor, and I'm going to tell you right now, from what I can see, it's going to make big power. So the very first pass, before we've made any major fueling adjustments, we're at 413 foot-pounds of torque. We're just tickling a little bit of horsepower. There's a lot of smoke coming out. Now, one of the things we can learn from smoke, is it blue, is it black, is it white? There's no white smoke, or we're going to stop this test already. Is it blue? Okay, blue's a little bit of oil that's coming out through the exhaust system because this engine has 170,000 kilometers. Black smoke we're going to clean up 99.9% because that's excess fueling that's coming out through the combustion chamber, and that's what we do here is get rid of the excess fueling. From what I can see, mostly it's just black with a tiny tinge of blue. On the second pass, we're already making 483 foot-pounds of torque because he's stepping on the gas now. This thing's starting to come to life. You can see the fueling is not that great, so he's going to have to work on that. And that's what we do here. We work on fueling to make everything correct. But it's already making 467 horsepower, and it's already making 483 foot-pounds of torque. The nature of a Whipple Supercharger is that even at higher RPM, the Whipple's plenty big enough to continue to make torque. If you continue to make torque at higher RPM, like up here, you're going to continue to make horsepower, and the horsepower is just going to continue to increase. It's barely falling over here to the tune of 25 to 35 foot-pounds. That's at 56, 5,700, where you're never going to drive this truck. Rare. I mean, the guy's feeling real sporty, he's going to get there sometimes, but for the most part, you're going to drive down in here, and it's making 400 to 500 foot-pounds of torque, but this Whipple just carries and carries and carries. That's a nice system for a pickup truck. Normally, what I would expect to see on a naturally aspirated motor is we're going to have some torque that comes on and it's just going to fall over. You're going to run into cylinder head, you're going to run into camshaft, and it's drawing its own air. So when it draws its own air, it doesn't have any boost up here at the top to start shoving it in. The torque's just going to fall off sooner, and you're never going to make this kind of torque this soon. At this point, what we've done is made a couple of repeated back-to-back passes, because if we just do a single pass, it's not really indicative of what you're going to do in the street. Out the street, you're going to just drive this thing for hours and hours, or you're going to drive it and then you're going to park it for a minute, drive it again. It's going to get warm. You're not going to give it a chance to cool off in between every time you drive it. So what we do at the end is we always make sure that if you're at the McDonald's drive-thru or Tim Hortons and you're getting it good and hot, that we've got a tune in here that's safe, that's good, that's proper for every circumstance. As we look through, if we do make repeated passes, we're going to have heat. And when we have heat, we're certainly not going to make the peak 500 and 500 every single time. If we go back through a couple of the passes, we can see this thing now makes, I think it was 491 foot-pounds of torque. And it'll make 438 horsepower all day long. This customer is looking for this. This is a truck. We want to make 500 foot-pounds. We wanted to make that all day because it's got to move a big, heavy truck. And when it's moving that big, heavy truck, it needs lots of torque. Who cares about how much horsepower you have out here? It's still making boatloads of horsepower. Already yesterday, we did, just out of pure coincidence and luck, which was good, we did a 2017 F250 with the same motor, the 6.2 liter. After tune, this is what the torque curve looked like. On that one, obviously that's naturally aspirated. Today, and this is the one we're talking about, the 6.2 liter with the Whipple on it, look at the torque curve. It just makes more everywhere. It makes it a lot sooner, and it just continues to make torque forever and ever and ever, all the way up and through as high as you want to rev it. Now, it's a truck motor, so you're not going to try and rev this thing to 7,000 RPM, but way beyond 5,000, beyond 5,500, into the 6,000 range, we're still making like a lot more torque to the tune of, let's take 320 here, and we're at, and it goes up and it peaks off here somewhere around 330. Up here, we're at well into the 450s. So we're over 120 foot-pounds more torque, but it just makes more everywhere. Okay, so that's it for today for this truck. The conclusion here that we're looking at is a Whipple works very, very well. We were able to make this run. I hesitate to say, but not really, that nobody else would have taken the amount of time and effort to make a custom throttle body, figure out what it took to make this work, because it had a Whipple that was not designed for this particular application, not for this computer. We got it to run, we got it to tune. It is extremely smooth, clean running. Customers going to enjoy this, and we really enjoyed this project here at International Diamond.